Good morning, everyone. We're about to begin. Right. I think we have everyone here we need. Chris is here, good. Donna, we just need your camera. Chris, we need your camera. Chris, are you there? Donna, are you there? Maybe they're still getting themselves ready. All right. I call to order the meeting of the mayor and the council of Borough of River Edge. Special meeting, River Edge Public Library, 685 Elm Avenue, and virtually through Zoom, March 8th, 2025. I ask everyone to please stand. I call on Council President Montesano Cohen to offer a reflection for today's silent reflection.
Take a moment of silence to remember those that are suffering both in health and mental health, and commemorate International Women's Day on March 8th day.
Call upon our finance chair, Councilwoman Kinsella, to lead us in the pledge. It's over there. I moved it.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, statement of compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification via the February 19th, 2025 and March 6th, 2025 sunshine notice containing the time, the date, the location, and the access information to the town news and to the record, and by posting of the same on the municipal bulletin board and the borough website, and filing notice of the same with the municipal clerk. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Council President Montesano Cohen. Okay, Councilwoman Kinsella.
Here.
Councilwoman Mallory. Councilman Benson.
Here.
Councilman Glass.
Here.
Councilwoman Dhariwal.
Yes.
Mayor Papaleo.
Here. Okay, could I have a motion and a second to open the public for any comments? So in regards to any matter, not just what's on the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are now open to anyone. Hold on, let me switch to, let's see if anybody's here. Okay, we have no attendees and, oh, we have one attendee. So if anyone remotely would like to make a comment, please raise your hand at this time. We will give you 30 seconds. If not, we will close to the public. But I have a motion and second to close to the public.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Could I have the finance and budget chair read the payment of the bills? Starting with the resolution number.
Resolution 25-94. At a regular meeting of the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on March 8th, 2025. Be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge approve the following expenditures. Current fund, $386,277.72. General capital fund, $40,941. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. We are now in our budget session. So I call upon Chief Schlossberg to finish his testimony and ask council at this time if they have any questions once he's finished, and the System Budget Committee, any questions about his budget. Chief.
We completed and discussed the capital part of the budget. On the operational part of the budget, we went over each of the line items, and where we were at was 3 additional line items that I wanted to add, which was maintenance for the maintenance contracts of some of the equipment, uniforms, which would be a new line item, but last week, there was just a recommendation that since we have uniform repair, we would combine the uniforms with the uniform repair if it was approved to add the 4 uniforms that I requested. And then the final item was assistance on our dinner dance, which we host every 2 years. I was looking for $7,500 a year that would go towards our dinner dance, if that was possible, or anything that could be added to that. I did explain that other municipalities do that. It's a help to the department. And basically, that's where we left off last week.
Okay. I explained to the chief that in order to be a little bit more efficient this day, what we're going to do is we're going to leave all, I'm going to ask council to leave all resolutions to the end. That this is only a question and answer time. Then we're going to move on to our next presenter and presenter after that. And then the council will consider what it wishes to add to the budget and or if it chooses to remove from the budget. So are there any questions for the chief? Seeing none, chief, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. All right, we're gonna go next to Rec. I believe Rec is our next up on the list. Joe, if you could start with the capital budget, then move to your there'll be questions at that time, and then we'll move to your operating budget. There'll be questions, and then we'll move on to our next presenter.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Chris, you gonna bring it up or?
Mayor,
Yes, somebody call.
yeah, that was me, sorry.
No problem, Ken, what's up?
Hey, I hate to cut you off, but can we get an update from Chris of like where we stand?
Yes,
on
that would
the-
be one of the things I was gonna ask him after the presentations.
Okay,
But we can front load it if you want. Chris,
well, the
can
only reason why
can you
I
just-
like the front load is because if we're having to cut stuff,
Okay,
it puts that in perspective, I think.
okay. Absolutely, but that was the reason I was leaving everything to the end. I'm hoping that every member of the budget committee is taking notes and on what we have left. But Chris, can you give us a general update? Where are we with the tax rate? Where are we with the impact on the average household? Where are we with total capital?
Thanks, Mayor. The impact right now, the only things that I have included here are the 3 items that Jason had removed because the council had made the decision to accept those removals, which amounted to $11,000. Anything else hasn't really been approved yet, so I haven't added it to the tax impact. There are a couple items pending, but we are currently at 6.46%, which is an impact to what we're projecting to be the average resident at $675,330 assessed value of $242.70.
Ken, anything else?
No, sir, thanks. Just wanted to get where we were.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chris. Chris, if you can bring back up Rec, and Joe, take us away.
All right. Okay. So for capital for this year, we're looking at some significant changes that are needed or upgrades for KBG. As of right now, we're looking at KBG pickleball courts and batting cages, which we've talked about previously. In order to put the batting or the pickleball courts at KBG, we will need to move the batting cages. KBG softball and baseball fields are in significant need of renovation. It's starting to become a safety issue if we continue to wait with the grading of the field needing to be brought up. and the field house as well. So we worked with the borough, or I worked with the borough engineer to get these prices. These prices have jumped up significantly within the last about 4 to 5 years of when we originally got the prices to renovate KBG. It looks that the prices are just going to keep on rising. We have some funding from some open space from back in 2019 and 2020, which we are continuing to attempt with the county to extend those grants. However, we can only extend them for so long. It's kind of a use it or lose it point at this time. So as you can see, the 535, 140 for batting cages and pickleball, and then the field house and fields at the 550. That's what we hold. We worked with a company to just get a quote, and the engineers worked to get the job done in one swift move. I believe that that's the best thing to do than to move to phases, and potentially affect what we have already done if we move it to phases. After that, we're looking at a recreational vehicle. Last year and a half, I've been using my own personal vehicle to go to all recreational programs just about 6 to 7 days a week, and to transport goods from any vendors that we have, banners, shopping for seniors, anything like that. And as you can see, the engineering to complete the KBG project and the engineering for Memorial Phase 1. Memorial Phase 1 would be towards the Little League fields, and that's talking about the walking path that also got written up by JIF. So that will need to be done this year.
Okay, so I believe last time I went to the citizens first, so Donna, any questions or comments?
No, Mayor.
Ken,
No, sir.
all right, I think Greg is here. Greg,
I have no comment.
and who am I leaving out? Al, you're here, right?
Yes, I am. No, no comments. I think maybe at the end there may be some thought to it. Right now,
Okay.
no.
All right, very good. From the council, any questions or comments?
I have two questions.
Councilman, go ahead.
Hey, Joe, thank you for this. It was great seeing you at the park the other day. I just have a few questions. For the pickleball, so we're gonna make some revenue from these courts, right? Any estimate about how much we might take in once we put these courts in?
Off the top of my head, we average, just give me one sec. On average, we bring somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 on pickleball membership registration, not including the we're just gonna start putting out this year some pickleball lessons. So over time, we will be bringing in revenue for pickleball. It's just a matter, I don't have those specific numbers because I don't know how popular the pickleball lessons will be. We're high hopes for them. But since we haven't put the lessons out yet, I can't give you those specific numbers.
Okay, thanks, Joe. I have one more question. That's okay. Of course. Joe, I know what, so let's say we put this money in and we get another, flood, a terrible flood. What, are we gonna lose all this money? Is this insured? I'm just concerned about putting all this money into this area that historically has been destroyed by floods. And we're getting more and more of these floods. So how do we mitigate that potential, loss of these fields?
So we've been working with the borough engineer as well as the one company that we got to give us the entire quote to see what they thought needed to be done. We're implementing drainage systems to hopefully avoid serious damage. Unfortunately, with the location at the, that KBG is at, there's floods. There's nothing we could do about that regarding, significant floods. But we are working with the drainage, and we do have insurance on the entire field, so we could apply for insurance reimbursements for fixing any damage.
Okay, and I mean, and I know you're not an insurance expert, but like, let's say we put the 535 in and the following year we have another Hurricane Sandy or whatever. Is the insurance gonna, pay us back and let us fix the fields again without putting more capital?
I don't think
in?
that's a question for Joe. I think that's a question for Lizette.
Yes, we do have additional flood insurance, and as part of the batting cage and pickleball court grant application for the grant, it includes like a double gate. So that way we know a storm is coming, that gate is open and it allows the water to go through instead of pushing down gates and causing damage.
Okay, all right.
And the location of the pickleball courts and batting cages are outside of the floodway. So I mean, yes, a Sandy storm could affect that, but from previous storms where the flood does come, it does not affect those two specifically.
Jason has more.
I know,
information.
Councilman, would you want more information from our superintendent of public works?
Sure, and I think it'd be important for our residents, because I think
Sure.
they would be concerned about this as well.
Mr. Melito, superintendent of public works.
Yeah, also, so half the fields flood, mostly the softball field. During this process, we did ask the fencing companies about stabilizing the fence a little more. So pretty much going deeper with the fences so they don't get pushed over as easy. Also, there will be, so when it does flood, with it being raised to the proper elevation, we'll say, and be brought back up to original, we actually gained 2 feet. So gaining that extra 2 feet, as we all know, we might lose some of the clay fields, but it won't be so drastic because it would be more pushed back into the floodway by the pistol range and stuff like that. So that has all been thought, and then actually a pre-storm solution has been thought too with airbags as well for all the drainage pipes and everything. So we try to, with high tide, we try to keep the water not coming back up to the drains. So there has been a lot of thought on that. And again, it would most likely just be the clay fields that would have to be redone once in a while, not the fencing and the backstops.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I think it was important for our residents to hear that there's thought going into this to protect the town. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Okay, great. Chris.
I just wanted to add real quick, because the numbers aren't on the screen, but the grant that we have for this is $234,524. And we're planning on utilizing $100,000 of open space match as well. So the actual amount that we would be authorizing here in debt is $228,616 on that first project, the pickleball and batting cage project. So I just wanted to share that as well.
I do have two
Go ahead.
questions. Thanks, Joe. Two questions in following the train of thought of Councilman Benson. How many pickleballs are we talking about?
The quote that we have were for 3 pickleball courts.
Okay, thanks. And then follow-up question would be the engineering, the KBG complete project, is that then the work for the drainage? Which is a separate line item? Just trying to understand how.
Yeah,
we
so the
read it.
drainage is I think Lizette can speak on this a little bit better, but the engineering for KBG is for the entirety of the project. So the drainage was included in the initial quote estimate that we got for the entire KBG.
Yes, the section 20 costs you see in the screen covers the engineering fees for the
For
project.
everything.
they already did the surveying, it's the design, the bidding, the oversight of the construction.
All of that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then my last question would be the engineering and memorial phase one. Is that also to address the ponding and the drainage issue in Memorial Park?
On the Little League field sides, correct. That is phase one.
Funded the
Fix the pathway
construction.
and the
Yeah.
drainage.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to bring everything together based on what we did last year and kind of put context to it.
Yep.
Thanks, Joe.
Any other member of council?
I got it.
Yes, Joe? Given the constraints of the budget this year, is it possible to push the recreational vehicles for the following year?
I'm okay with that.
Any other questions?
So, Joe, hey Joe, so the 135, right, on that line, KBG field, baseball, softball fields and field, that's engineering services and soft costs, right?
Correct.
Yes,
So that's 25% of the capital cost?
what had happened is when they gave me the quote, the 135 includes the fields and the batting cage work and it was the way the proposal was given, but to do the whole project of the fields, the court and the batting cage is the combination of the 28 and 135, so it's one.
So I should be taking, 163 over the 1,085,000. That's a better way to look.
Yes,
Okay.
it's just that it is split up because the fields and
Alright,
the
that's
pickleball
close,
court are
that's around
different grant
12%.
applications.
Okay, that's more in line with what I would say. Thank you, is that?
Any further questions from council? All right, Joe, thank you. We appreciate that. Oh, Ken, I'm sorry. Ken, you have a question?
No worries. This number, that section 20 cost number, is considerably different than the sheet we got from Chris last week.
Yes, it is.
How we increased that by a lot.
Chris, would you like to speak to that, or Lizette?
The sheet that was in the book was a placeholder because we were waiting for updated estimates. So the engineering estimate came after the publication of the book.
So was that number included in Chris's original numbers of the of what we're talking about trying to save or issue in taxes?
We're talking about the capital budget right now, which is really not going to materially impact the operating budget's figure, right? It'll materially impact future debt service payments, which will be in future budgets. But the numbers that I gave before are only the operating expenses, not relative to the capital budget.
Right, but somebody's going to pay this at some point.
In year two, so in year one, it's effectively not going to cost you anything. In year two, if we have to borrow the money, we might have to pay interest on the debt service. That'll be the case for probably a couple of years until we're ready to permanently finance the project. Once we permanently finance the project, you'll be paying principal and interest on it. So it will be in future budgets. And if we circle back to what I had mentioned on Saturday, for the $400,000 of interest on our debt service in this year's budget, you're actually paying for projects from 21 and 22. We haven't started to fund the projects from 23 and 24 yet. So you can kind of see how the lag works when the debt service starts to hit your budget a couple years after the project's originally awarded.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Also, our open space trust account, as we build it, under the state law, you could use it for recreation, historic preservation, property acquisition, as well as the paying down the debt for any of those categories. So as our parks and those projects are complete, we could use open space balance to help pay down the debt incurred for this and other recreation projects.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions from council or Citizen Budget Committee? All right, we're going to move straight to your operating budget. What page?
I have 105, my first page.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. So we're looking,
Hold on, Joe. Just as we did last Saturday, please limit your comments right now to major changes. Any
Sure.
minor changes or anything that's staying flat, the council can always ask about after you finish your presentation.
sure. All right, so according to Chris's page 107, we'll start with account 012. Looking to increase the part-time salary to a full-time salary. With the programs that we've been running the last year and a half, we've increased to 9 new recreational programs, 11 events, and the senior program, that does not include the senior programs, which have grown significantly. We'll talk about that in another line. Ideally, if we're able to get a full-time employee by July 1st, wouldn't have to start paying insurance or benefits until September 1st after the 60-day employment. That's all for that page. What do you got next, Chris? Okay. 108, no significant changes other than account 041, meetings and seminars. I would like to just subtract that by 1,000. So that account would just asking for $1,000.
All right, would someone take note of that? We'll come back to it at the end.
What time
if
was
we
that?
can.
041.
Page 108. 370.
Reduce it by a lot, to 1,000.
Reduce it by 1,000.
Is the recommendation, and the council will consider that at the end of the meeting.
I guess sorry, go back one more one more page, Chris. Sorry about that. The only other significant change on this page, account 174, Memorial Bench Program. That program is fully complete. So that'll just be self sustained. So any purchases of Memorial Bench will be from the residents that are looking to place a Memorial Bench. Line 177. On Chris's sheets, it did increase a lot. However, looking at it, looking to take that 43,200 and subtract the 15,800 that we'll be taking out of the trust account. That's for spring startup, some water drainage issue, and for both fields at Memorial Park. So bring that account down to that 27,400. And Chris, I think the only other change was for page 105. And then account 100, other general groups. This is specifically for our seniors, which gets taken out of the SCORE program, as well as our senior exercise classes that the borough covers. As you can see, that increased by $8,800, and that's due to the fact that the senior programs are getting a lot more popular. Word's getting around that we have wait lists for both exercise classes, and we're up about 20 or about 15 participants for the SCORE program. And that should do it for my big changes on the operating requests.
Okay, Council first, council have any questions, comments, or concerns? Remember, we're gonna hold all, resolutions to the end. And we're keeping track of the page numbers. Does the council have any questions or comments? What? You can make that comment, yeah,
Okay.
but that would be something we'd really be dealing with at the
At
end.
the end, okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay. Anything else from council? All right, I'm gonna go in order, Donna first. Go ahead, Donna. Any questions or comments? I can certainly come back.
No comments.
Okay, Greg, any questions or comments?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Ken, any questions or comments?
Yeah, on the maintenance contract, Joe, you mentioned all the stuff being done for the fields is going to be pulled out of the trust fund or whatever we call it now.
Yes, everything other than the infield, outfield transition, which is for 6,845, because that's more of a permanent fix.
Okay. Are we doing anything? Is that maintenance also include the Roosevelt Fields for Regal?
No, it does not.
I'm wondering why, but I'm sure it's another conversation for a different day.
Yes.
I can speak to that, but I'll speak to that at the end, okay? So
Yeah.
Ken, remind me to talk about that, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, Al, question, comment?
Comment probably or a question for Chris more than anything else. Is there some way to make this page bigger? I'm having some very difficult eye strain here trying to read it off the screen.
Yeah, that's tough.
A little better. One more?
I'm gonna see if I can maximize it on my screen.
There we go. That's much better. Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute.
There we go. That's pretty good. Now, if we could just get the money to be, no, that's,
All right, good. Okay, anything else go ahead.
Just one thing. Hey, Joe. First of all, thanks for everything you do for the town, man. I mean, you're involved in so many things, so it's really amazing. I just want to throw this out here because I don't know if I have an answer, but I'll throw it to my fellow council people. We charge for SCORE $2 a person, right? And we feed them breakfast, we feed them lunch. I know there's concerns about raising that because I know when we raised it from $1 to $2, you had a lot of upset people. But I'm just wondering if we raised it up to like $5, you'd be talking about another $2,000 a year.
So just speak to this so that everybody understands, that $2 is per meeting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So the way SCORE works is everyone who comes, the seniors are charged $2 per meeting. And it's on a Monday, they get breakfast, they get lunch, they get.
Barry, let me just
Go
make
ahead.
one comment about that before you keep on going. The borough does not pay for their breakfast. The borough only pays for their lunch and the exercise classes. They cover their own breakfast. That was a conversation that we were having, but I cut that out, because again, the funds would just be outrageous. So
And how do they cover their own breakfast?
that's what the second dollar is for. So we get plain bagels for them. So that's what their second dollar is for. One of their dollars is their contribution fee. One of their dollars is the breakfast. And then that cash is just used to buy the breakfast.
I understand. I'm just wondering if it's still for the dollar contribution fee for everything else. If it would make sense to raise it a little bit so we get a little bit more revenue into the town. I'm sort of on the fence about it, but I wanted to raise it up here. It's not a lot of money, but it could be 1,000, 1,500 or something.
Okay, since this is a new business item, Joe, would you opine on whether you think that's a good idea or a bad idea based on your interaction? In addition to that, what would be, if the council was to do it, what would, whether you support it or not, what would be probably a good amount? $4, $5, $10? So, Joe, what are you thinking?
So SCORE has been around for 50 years in River Edge, and they were running by their own bylaws. Just recently, the borough took it back over. I believe by raising it, we would lose numbers and eventually potentially probably just not have any more score. As I'm sure, Barry, you know, with being in it, the turnover was not an easy turnover, and that $2 was a huge issue for all of the SCORE members. We're still having conversations with them every time they come in. Personally, by raising the cost of it, the numbers will drop down drastically, and it will go back to having about 15 members from when we first started to like the 35 that we have usually. That's really what I have to say about that.
Also,
I
you
just don't
just
think it would be
transfer
beneficial
one-
for the town if they want to keep on running the program.
Just transferring costs from everyone in the town.
Well, we have non-residents attending SCORE as well. We do.
On that one, since we have non-residents, can we increase the fee for non-residents, like from $2 to $3, just for that?
That's something that I will bring to the table. Back to any of that. That's how it's been the last 50 years, and I get we're in, a new time. But with that, numbers will drop down. And I have no problem with, I think that would be beneficial. However, I don't think that they would continue to come.
Well, this is an information time. We're gonna consider it later in the meeting. Is there more questions for Joe
I'm sorry,
or comments?
real quick. Joe, if I'm looking, actually, the notes we have up on the screen right now. So the 75 to 80,
Yep.
that's a year-over-year increase of what we're paying per person?
No,
I'm
this
saying-
is for per class. So these senior exercise classes, so there's you can see the senior arthritis balance and fall prevention class. That cost increased by $5 per class. So it's an hour-long class. That's once a week.
So that's what we as the Borough of River Edge are paying a $5 increase per class.
That is
And
correct.
then on the yoga and chair yoga, we're paying a $10 increase per class.
That is correct. But for those two
Okay,
classes,
So I'm wondering why our costs are increasing over 10%.
that's what
Over
those.
10%.
Go ahead.
For the gentle yoga and chair yoga, and over almost 7% for the senior arthritis, et cetera. Why are our costs increasing by over 10% and over 7% in 1 year?
Those are what the instructors' increases are. So we're paying these instructors to come in, just like any of our other programs.
And who agreed to that?
Who agreed to that? That's what they
Right.
requested. That's why it's in the budget to,
Yeah, I think we should look at that. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, cost of living increases are like 3%. Why are these increasing 10% or 6% or 7%?
I mean, these prices also have not increased in many years. I
That's
mean,
fine.
at least for the last 2 years that
I'm
I've
just
been here.
making a comment, but, we can consider it later, but I don't know why we would agree to a 10% year-over-year increase. When the cost of living, CPI is like 3%.
CPI this year is 3%, last year was 3%, the year before that was 6.5. In the last 4 years, inflation has got up 19.8%. Has there been a request for change, Joe, in the last 4 years?
No,
Okay, so it's been inflation's got 19.8, but there's been no request during that time until now. Just for some information, it's information, council makes the decision.
Okay, thank you, man.
All right. Anything else, Joe, on your part? Any council member or citizen budget committee member? All right, I'd like to go to Rivas at this point. I believe we have a representative from Rivas. Who is
Yes,
here for?
Good
Very
morning,
much.
Mayor and Council. My name is Audrey Iškelis. I'm Rivas captain. I
Welcome.
still see the screen shared. Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'd like to tell about our radio situation and why we're asking town's help.
Okay.
For many years, till about 2 years ago, we were on the same radio system as other departments and police department, and we had instant communication with the officers in the field with push of a button. It worked great, and we rely a lot on police department to help us and ensure our safety. And a couple of years ago, then they switched to the new trunked radio system. We lost that ability to communicate with our radios. At the time, plan was that dispatch center would still listen to old frequency to hear our messages, and then dispatcher would relay these messages by speaking into the new frequency. We tried that. That plan proven to be not very effective. On one hand, dispatchers might be busy. They might be answering another call. They might be coordinating something what is going on, so that message could get significantly delayed. On the other hand, even if they are ready to hear us right away and dispatch that message, sometimes in some situations that might be too long. Once in a while, we have a combative patient who might be intoxicated or emotionally disturbed patient, and we are in the back of the ambulance. And then the patient's behavior becomes aggressive. We radio police officers right away. And I personally was in the ambulance where a police officer following us would be inside helping us seconds later. Right now, even if dispatcher is not busy, it takes some time for the message to get relayed. So we, after several years and talking to different departments, we think that it's time for us to join the same P25 system and regain the same radio communication which we had for many years. It is very, very expensive system. We looked for least expensive option. It's probably the most affordable one. It's many times less expensive than what other departments have. However, it is compliant, compatible, and sufficient. That's the quotes we submitted. And for even that, for our department, which is fully supported by resident donation, it's a lot of money. That's why we are humbly asking for town's help with this.
I'm gonna ask a question before I go to the, how many radios would this 25,000 cover?
It's 6 radios. It's 4 portable radios and 2 console radios, which are built in the ambulances. It's less than what we have right now. We're not replacing everything. This is the minimum.
Okay, isn't there a programming cost that you have to incur too? Are you absorbing that cost?
The quotes include that. That's the last line of the quotes.
Okay, can you break out the cost? How much is it per portable? How much is it per console? Oh, there it is.
Yes, so yeah, these are the quotes which were submitted. These are console radios. So this is the radio itself. Then there are, I don't know if it's worth getting like into every line. The installation and programming is here. So that covers, so we need frequencies which are, I guess, falls into several categories. One frequency is the P25 frequency to communicate with our departments. Then there is mandatory.
Andres, we're good with that. I just wanted a general breakdown. So it's about 11. It's about 11,000 for 2 consoles and the remainder for portable.
Sorry, yes, let me get the portables.
No, you don't. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Audrey, this is a question. I'm just kind of like trying to streamline this. I know these questions are going to come up. That's why I'm asking them right up front. Audrey, do you need all 4 portable and 2 consoles? Can we begin with less and do more next year?
We'll appreciate any help we can get from town, but this is already a reduced number. Today, we have 2 consoles per ambulance. We also have captain radio, we have first lieutenant radio. We'll take any help, but this is what we do need. This is less than like usual set of radios which are common for ambulance department.
Okay, let's go first to Donna. Questions, comments?
Yeah, I believe that this is a big safety problem for the ambulance corps. And I'm for the radios, you know, I mean, it is a safety issue. If you have a irate patient in the back of the ambulance and you need a police officer, you have no way to communicate with them.
Okay. Anything else, Donna?
No.
No, we're good. All right, great. Greg?
Yeah, having had the opportunity to running some emergencies and having EMS respond, communication with Revast has been an issue. You know, we're all switching the PDs on digital. We're transforming over to digital. And right now we have no communication with them on the fire ground or at an accident. And that's an issue.
Okay. Ken?
I'm all good, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, Al?
I agree with Greg and Donna, and as a riding member, I've gone through this situation a couple of times where we had difficulty dealing with people, and it is a major concern.
Well, I mean, thank you for sharing that. Not cool. I don't know why I said that. Council?
I just have a quick question, Mayor.
Sure.
Hey, Odris, how you doing? Just a quick question, again, just to give everyone, how many calls like did your service do last year? Just so, you know, how many times did you go out and?
140.
140, okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for council? All right, thank you, Audris. We'll be dealing with this at the end of the meeting for expediency's sake. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Maxine, Darren?
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Morning.
Chris, can you put up their budget as needed, okay? Where do you guys want to start?
Start with salaries,
Start with salaries,
please.
okay?
Oh,
Can you give us a page?
113.
113?
No, what we have is not correct, so it's better to just do the
Do
oral
Chris.
presentation and then Chris will bring up the spreadsheet.
All right, Chris, you heard that? You're good with that? Yes, okay. Go
All
ahead.
right, so we have an updated figure for full-time, part-time is fine, full-time, I'm working off of Chris's monthly salary report, and so that's giving me a more accurate figure that includes longevity, and plus then we're adding 3 hours to a full-time position that was at 32 hours a week, which we want at 35. So that figure should be 322,319 for full-time salaries. 322,319.
113.
Can you give that to me again, Darren? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was lost in thought
Yeah,
and
okay.
I zoned.
Okay, 322,319 for full-time salaries.
Okay.
Yeah, so the only change there would be 3 more hours for full-time, one full-time employee. Now, part-time, that figure is accurate. It includes filling 2 positions that were vacant for most of last year. Those positions would be adult services librarian from April 1st and
youth services assisted from April 1st. That's it. So that's what we're requesting for salaries for the year, the coming year, this year.
Okay.
All right, so other than that, we have a request in for 15,000 in additional funds for operating. And I've given you a breakout of what we would use that 15K for. And just to give a little context, we haven't had an increase in our operating budget in several years. We are dealing with inflation, which affects most notably printed books. So we're asking about 6,000 of what we're asking for is to go on printed books. Just a little more context. So just to confirm that Buckles has a policy, a replacement policy for printed books. So if you lose a book, we charge you, or in the past we've charged you for this type of book, $30 to replace it. That doesn't just cover the cost of the book, but also processing, cataloging, linking to the catalog. Buckles last year increased that from $30 to $35 in recognition of the increased cost of books. All right, so let's move on to Literacy Volunteers of America of Pascack Valley. We'd like to become eventually a member of this organization and to support our tutors in our ESL program. Now, right now, there's no coordinator for our ESL program. That would be one of the duties of the adult services librarian, we hope. In order to make that program, that very important program, work to its fullest capacity, we would need membership in this organization, which would offer training, among other things, for the tutors. Okay, so more context. I'm sure you're not surprised if I tell you that 35% of the population of River Edge has another language at home that isn't English. That's an extraordinary figure, and we need to recognize that and provide services that jibe with that. Okay, Hoopla. $5,000 for Hoopla. Hoopla is a digital book service. I don't like their ebooks very much. I don't think the quality is good enough, and there are many titles there that no librarian in their right mind would select. But I do like their digital audiobooks. They have a good graphic novel collection. They have videos, and particularly music I like, because we don't have music on CDs anymore. So we'd like to have a music service. You can download a CD or an album for a week, and very often it's a new release, just like you'd have on Spotify. And so we want our patrons to have that service. We can never give them enough of the digital content. I'm sure those of you that use our audiobooks and ebook service on Libby have experienced wait times. And so you'll know that that's a fact. And we try to keep the wait times down to a minimum. And also, moving forward, this is part of our strategic plan. We want to have a really good library of things. We already have puzzles. The library of things is a library of items other than books that people can check out. And that could be, like I said, we have jigsaw puzzles right now. Those are all donations. But it could be something like a pickleball set, or something like a metal detector, or some other item that you might not want to buy on your own because it's hundreds of dollars or maybe thousands. But hey, the library has one. I don't need it all the time. I can go down to the library, check it out for a few weeks, and don't have to pay anything. So that's a service we would like to add in the coming years. And we'd like to get started on that as soon as we can. So that's the 15,000 in additional funds that we're requesting. Again, we haven't had an increase in our operating budget for many years.
Okay, since this is an operating budget, we start with the council. Does any member of council wish to ask a question or make a comment?
I just have one question.
Yes,
Hoopla is a service provided by BCCLS, right?
it's not, it's a private company. The model would be different than, are you familiar with Libby? Libby, well, Libby.
Yes, Libby, yes.
Yeah, Libby is a company called Overdrive, owns Libby. We actually buy a license for each of the books and they cost a lot. They're like $60-70 each, those licenses. And we're very limited as to the number of checkouts. So for some of the publishers, it's 24 checkouts for $60-70. So, you know, do the math, it's not cheap. Hoopla is somewhat more, is different situation. We pay per checkout. So if our patrons check something out, we'll pay $2 for that checkout. $2 is a good number in library economics.
So it means you would Libby and add Hoopla? or
No, we would have
extra?
both. We would have both. We have, as I said, unlimited demand for electronic or digital items. So Hoopla would be, the 5,000 figure comes from when I look at similarly sized libraries around and what they budget. And I feel for 5,000, we would probably have, that would be around what we would spend, or our patrons would spend, basically, with their Hoopla checkouts.
It
Again,
definitely has more content, I've heard.
have you seen?
I've heard from other
Yeah.
other friends that it has more, Hoopla has more content, but I wasn't sure. It's a monthly that you pay, right?
We pay the bill monthly. And again, it is, they're always available. You don't have, there's no wait time, which is an advantage. It's not perfect. Like I mentioned, the ebooks, there's some sketchy stuff in the ebook collection. They're not that picky about what they add to their ebook collection. Like we have some awful stuff there, like conspiracy theory stuff, and no librarian would select those items. But I know from making phone calls and talking to the librarians that you can ixnay the ebooks and keep the rest.
And just a thought, the Library of Things, it is such a great idea. Scouts are always looking for projects. Would there be just throwing it over there? I mean, maybe.
Well, I would anticipate some of these items would be donated to the library, but some we would have to probably fork out for. Like I said, we have something like 20-30 jigsaw puzzles now. They're all donations. And people check them out. I wouldn't say they're flying off the shelves, but I think when we start building this Library of Things, and when we use our very good real estate there, and the multimedia section is shrinking because the media world is changing, and that's in prime real estate out on the floor there. We can certainly highlight this collection, put it in a central spot, and I think people will really appreciate it.
Any other questions from council? Comments? Donna? You are.
Yes, I just have a question. The library does fundraise, right?
We have a group called the Friends of the Library who does all of our fundraising for us. And
Okay,
most of their money will go to programs, and then sometimes they will donate physical items such as the TV that we're using right now for the Zoom meeting.
Okay, so the fundraising goes to the programs. That's what I was asking.
Some of it does go to the programs, but again, sometimes we have special requests. Like, for example, the TV that we're using right now for the Zoom meeting was donated by the Friends.
Okay, thank you.
Greg?
I just have a question regarding the Hoopla. Darius said that you're not a fan of their books, but the music and everything. Can people just get music off of Spotify on their own?
Yeah, but some people can't afford Spotify.
Okay.
Or they're not comfortable with a subscription. I'm thinking maybe senior citizens.
Okay.
Yeah, you and I love Spotify, but whenever there's a charge for something, it's a barrier. That's the way how we look at it. So we want people to be able to check out something for free because, you know, taxpayers.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yep. Okay, thank you.
Ken?
Yeah, just a question, like, to join some of these things, do we have any statistics from other libraries of like what the percentage of joining is once you offer it? So let's say this thing that's a non-Spotify or Spotify-like.
Yeah.
You know, have you pulled around there are other libraries to say, hey, they got a, 35% uptick in usage or things like that after they subscribe, and get some momentum?
Yeah. Ken, we always do our research. Lots of libraries have Hoopla. It's not like I would have a shortage of, and when we go to the conference, every so often I would talk to, the representatives there of Hoopla. I've talked to them more than once. Well, I'm budgeting 5,000, so that would logically mean that I'm anticipating 2,500 checkouts.
Okay.
So that would add to our around 20,000 checkouts, electronic or digital item checkouts per year. So it would certainly boost that number, we would anticipate.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Al?
I know the borough is required through, I think, a state statute to provide funds to the library. I got two questions here. I guess one's for Chris, I guess, is how much are we required to give the library to operate this year? And the second question is how much of that money is used to provide operating funds similar to what you're asking for here?
This year, the minimum requirement is 821,235.10 for the library. Of that, as you can heard, this request is 712,039 is the total between the full-time, part-time, and the other expenses that are being requested right now. And the balance of that plus some is used for liability insurance, workers' comp, health benefits, pension, the electric, telephone, water, natural gas, the Social Security, like payroll taxes, pension, all the other ancillary things that are related to both paying the employees and operating the building.
Okay, that's, I don't know if I had my question phrased properly. The 800,000 is, I don't know if this is correct. 800,000 goes to basically the operation of the library. Is that what you said?
No, the state requirement is that the town budgets a minimum of $821,000 for the library. The way that I answered the question was that the library right now is requesting $712,000. So that leaves a balance of $109,000 that the borough would still have to include in their budget. And in this case, with this request, the total that we would be budgeting is just under $950,000, $949,000 for all the things that I just listed. But we're required to have 821. The state doesn't dictate what that's spent on. It's just that it has to be appropriated for the library.
Okay, I think I have better clarification. Thank you.
Can I just chime in on that?
Yeah.
Just for a little bit more clarification, it's 821. Last year, I believe it was 770 for the third of a mil for the library. So it's gone up 50,000 or so from last year. And the 821 is what we're required to do, but the borough always does above that. But 821 encompasses all of the expenses that the borough contributes to, including pension, insurance, social security, all that stuff, as well as salary and wages and operating expense. Is that correct, Chris?
So Chris, what would the number be apples to apples to the 821? The 821 versus what the requested budget is?
The requested budget right now is just under 950. It's 949, 983. So we would be 128,700 in excess of the minimum requirement right now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Any other comments? All right, thank you for coming.
Could I have one other comment? Is
Oh,
that okay?
absolutely, yeah.
So 1/3 of a mil funding is is minimum. That's the law. But we also have a maximum funding law, which says you can't go over 15% of the previous year. And so your library budget is going to either be minimum or somewhere in between minimum and maximum. And so we can get bogged down in discussions about minimums and maximums. And I would just ask you to, rather than doing that, just consider what is appropriate for the funding the library at the level people want and expect. Okay, so I think that's a more prudent way to approach library funding. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I also had a comment. My name is Maxine Rumsby. I'm the president of the library board. And as you all know, in 2023, we were open from 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. Monday to Thursday. And we were open 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. Friday and Saturdays during the school year. We are currently open Monday through Wednesday, 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays during the school year, 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. And the reason we are asking for additional money in salaries is to reinstate 2 positions that we lost last year due to budgeting, okay? So we lost the adult services librarian, which inhibited us from giving programs to the public that they are constantly asking for. And we lost our youth services assistant. And the numbers in this salary request reflect replacing those 2 positions that we lost last year. And in replacing those 2 employees that we lost, we would be able to move the number of hours we offer to the public closer to what we used to have. I can't say that we would be able to reinstate all of the hours that we reduced, but it would move us closer in that direction. And as you know, this library, this building is loved by the entire community. It is used constantly. You are meeting here and you see how many people are here. Our meeting rooms are used constantly, and we have a strategic plan that tells us what the public wants from us and what they want: more hours, more programs, in addition to a lot of other things. Also regarding the operating budget, in order to maintain the number of hours required to stay in Buckles, they do have a requirement for us. We had to move some money from our operating expenses last year into salaries so that we could stay open the appropriate number of hours to remain a member of the Buckles community. So in the past year, we have not ordered books. We have not ordered digital supplies. Our patrons are getting digital books online through Libby, but they're actually coming through our partner libraries through Buckles. We don't own them. Several other things, we were not able to provide high demand movies in the later months of the year because we ran out of money. And we were able to offer less programs. Again, the Friends do help us greatly. They do all of our fundraising. They provide thousands of dollars every year. But again, we're working towards what the public has told us they want in our strategic plan. So that's where these numbers come from. And I appreciate your consideration.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I think that leaves only one department left, administration. We can start with capital.
Okay, there's only two items on capital. One is for 13,500. That is to maintain, our recommended reserve of 13,500 from our IT consultant. This money is used to replace computers, printers, and whatever we don't use, we keep the balance. We just have to, with the new Borough Hall, what our reserve had been depleted, so this is just to build back the reserve. And also the cost of the hardware has increased. Before, it used to be 12,000, the IT consultant recommended 15,000. And the other number here is $100,000, and that is to update our tax maps. The tax maps have not been updated in about 25 years, 24, 25 years. So that requires the borough engineer to go back towards looking at deeds, surveys, land use regulations, probably was still planning board back then, and we need to maintain this, not just for people that come in with OPA requests, but for future tax appeals, we have to have updated tax documentation. And even though it's a big number, 100,000, you have to consider they have to go back 24, 25 years of research to bring it up to date.
Okay. And I believe there's one last one, legal financing.
Oh, that is, legal financing, that is a section 20 cost associated with the bonding process of the capital budget.
And can you speak to NJDOT ordinance Bogert Road? I think that was talked about, but just I didn't highlight it, so I'm not sure that it was spoken to.
Yes, every year we receive, we apply for funding for Bogert Road, based on the condition it qualifies for a state grant to, make, sidewalk improvements, curb improvements. And then eventually, once all that is done, we could repave the road. So section 9 had it, okay, second. We did receive the grant. The amount is $560,000, but we did receive $209,055 to apply for the construction costs. What we had approved previously, section 8 would do the curbs, ramps, sidewalks from Windsor Road to Concord Drive. Section 9 would go on Bogert Road from Concord Drive to Adams. And if the bids come in very favorable, we'll push the limits further.
Okay, operating budget.
Start on page 1.
All right, everybody, let's get to that. Go ahead.
The big jump is on page 2, actually, for employee physical. It's based on actual expenditures in 2024. This covers the mandatory federal testing of our public works employees, as well as the mandatory testing for all crossing guards. They have to undergo a hearing and vision test, which mandates that. So because of we've always stayed within budget, but now because of the crossing guard mandate, the actual expenditures have increased.
Meetings also went up 50%. Can you just speak to that one? 041. It's also on page 2.
Yes, this covers the CEUs, continuing education credits for, I have my qualified purchasing agent license, and by having the license for the borough, we are able to maximize using the bid threshold of 44,000. If you don't have a PPA, then you have to go out to bid for everything over 17,500.
That's very useful. Keep going.
Environmental Commission, I reduced this slightly. That is, that line reimburses, as well as beautification green team, that line reimburses for their activities when they do the boat launch, when they do the cleanup. If they have an event and have to bring in a speaker, then this covers the speaker's fees.
Okay. You can just do the highlights.
That's it for administration. The other items that fall under administration. To page 23, legal expenses. And previously, my predecessor used to have, you might see certain blanks, my predecessor used to have the labor council broken up into four sub line items. It's been all consolidated into one account, labor relations attorney, but there is no increase, it's just a consolidation. Land use attorney stayed flat. There was an increase of the borough attorney other based on actual expenditures. We've had, our prior borough attorney was sole proprietor of his firm, became a judge. So in moving forward, when you go with a legal firm, there's always a lot more expenses for additional personnel, but there has been a lot of activity last year when we're doing the cannabis ordinance with the Borough Hall construction, so it's activity driven. So what is being budgeted, what's being requested is cover what was budgeted last year. On page 24, legal other was reduced because this line would cover the affordable housing attorney that, you know, we need to have in order to meet the state mandates. But since affordable housing expenditures are outside of the appropriations cap, that funding was moved over to the appropriate line, so we're not subject to the cap for that amount. And lastly, page 26 covers engineering. There was just a minor reduction in the other general group because our borough engineer serves as a stormwater coordinator. So some money for those services were moved to the stormwater account line for the same reason that those expenditures are outside of the appropriation cap. And then the grant consultants was nominally increased by $5,000, but that is due to our contract with our grant writer who's done a great job. We've applied for many grants, and most of the grants we have received funding, like the local recreation improvement grant. We're still trying to get the electric chargers. They helped last year with turnout gear for the fire department, so their contract is up for renewal in September of this year. And I believe that covers everything under administration.
And I believe the control went down 5.78%.
Yes, because of reallocating funds to items outside the cap.
Oh, excuse me. I'd like us to take a 10-minute break and then return, and then we have to make decisions. We have had testimony, we have had information sent to us via email. We have had a question period. So now it's time for the council to decide what the tax rate is going to be. So we're going to take a 10-minute break and we'll come back at, let's come back at no later than 9:30. All right, everybody?
And at that time, we'll ask questions about the administration budget.
Oh, my bad.
Do you want to?
My bad. You are so right. My mistake. No, we have to do that first. So we're not taking a break. Questions about administration? So Myron, go ahead. Any questions? Any member of council? We always do us first for operational.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, you're right. You're right. Let's go through, let's just do this. No, let's do it. Let's maintain our process. Questions about administrative capital. Donna.
No questions.
Okay, who do I normally go next to? Greg.
I'm good. Thank you.
Ken,
All good.
Al,
I'm good too.
capital only, council.
Just for everyone's education, the mandatory testing, the employee physicals, this is new for the crossing guards. There's a new mandate to that?
Yes, the state municipal access.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
sorry. I
That's
don't
okay.
have any questions.
But we kind of, council goes first with operating, so if you want to roll right into it, you can.
Sure, so. can you
Yes,
just-
the state municipal excess liability fund, joint insurance fund is mandating that, it's a liability safety precaution, so crossing guards must undergo, that testing, and if a crossing guard doesn't pass either one, then they cannot be hired or returned for the following year.
Interesting.
Yeah, anything, any question or comment either on the capital or on the operating, and then we go back to the citizens for the operating.
Okay, nothing on the capital, but then on page 11, is there any way we can change postage? It says that it's budgeted 15,000. Do we need to keep it at 15,000 on page 11, sorry, 120,022?
We, 11, postage. That we've had a reserve for several years, and that's another case where our postage reserve, the balance with Neopost has been depleting with the postal increases. So,
It's safer to keep it at 15?
it's safer to keep it at 15, because I think they're doing increases every January and July, so it's hard to anticipate. And, we do a lot of mailing of, checks, fees, permits and things like that.
Okay, and are you page 31? I'm not really sure.
31 is land use board.
Is that question for Lizette?
Yes, because the land use board is in here, so Lizette would be the only one,
Okay.
or Chris. What's the question?
Just part-time? Figures there?
Chris,
I'm
or can you speak to the land use board's request for a 3% increase from 46,000, item 012?
It's the 3% increase is built into every non-union position right now. So that's subject to council approval. You've already authorized 2% via resolution earlier this year. So the balance is really the 1%, and we would give that to all of the non-union full-time and part-time employees.
So for context, for the Assistant Budget Committee, for the council and for the public, we build in our non-contractual receive a 2% increase. Then what we do is later on, we decide, Lizette, correct me if I'm wrong, if we can give that extra 1% because inflation certainly is 3%. And as I mentioned before, over the last 4 years, inflation has been 19.8% cumulatively. But we have not kept up with that 19.8% at all. We have, in the last 4 years, I think we've done 3% for the last 3 years, right?
Yes.
So we have been, if you pull it out 4 years, we've done 12%, but inflation's gone up 19.8. So again, we're this year it's only 3%, but that, if we can afford something like that, we try to do it. So it's currently in the budget because you can't, once the budget's struck, you can't give more that's not currently in the budget. So it's a buffer. Would that be a good way of describing it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions?
No, I was wondering why it was 52,000, but it really said 58,000. I just wanted to clear that.
Oh,
difference
can
there. Was there-
Lizette or Chris, can you speak to the line 2024 appropriate actual 52 to 58,164.67?
I'll refer to Chris since he has the payroll available.
Yeah, I don't have the payroll open right now. I'd have to open it up to see what the detail was. I just need a couple. If you want to take the break and then I can come back after the break with all that information.
We'll make that the first question to be answered after the break. Any other questions for any of the members of council?
Go to the full.
I have a question. Are you guys? good?
No, I'm done.
All right.
No.
Is that
Yeah.
on the
Page?
The tax maps, capital.
Okay.
That's on the tax maps.
Yes,
Would you explain? This is, borough-wide, the update?
yes, it's the entire,
So I'm just wondering, what product are we gonna get? What's the product of it? What are we paying for? Is it a digital thing?
both digital and paper. Because, the land use clerk is also the part-time tax assessing clerk, so he receives a lot of open requests or people that are interested with applications want to come and.
How do we address those now that since we haven't updated in 25 years? Like you said.
We provide the most, what we have and any backup documentation, like if there was a resolution approving a subdivision. And that covers us, but
So it's basically incorporating all the changes into,
yes, that's correct.
okay. Thank you.
Any other member of council on the operating or capital? Donna?
No questions.
All right, Greg?
I'm good, thank you.
Ken? You're muted.
All good, thank you.
All right, Al?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, at this point, why don't we adjourn to 9:35 and we'll have Chris will give us that answer. And then we'll start looking at what we can do to reduce the budget from over 6.5%. Because that's not acceptable. All right, thank you all. We are, could I have a motion and second to suspend for 10 minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
When he was sitting.
All right. I call to order, to return to order the meeting of the mayor council, Borough of River Edge, special meeting, River Edge Library and virtually through Zoom, March 8th, 2025. Madam Clerk.
Council President Montesano Cohen,
Here.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Here.
Councilwoman Molinari,
Here.
Councilman Benson,
Here.
Councilman Glass,
Here.
Councilwoman Dhariwal.
Here.
Mayor Papaleo.
Here. Okay, Chris, you're up first. We're looking for an answer to that question. Can we pose that question again? Who posed that question? Dave, can you pose the question again? What was the question?
About,
Chris?
oh, on the library?
Land use.
Land use. Oh, land
Oh,
use,
wait, I
yes.
did.
Yeah. Page 31.
Page 31, everyone, land use. And Chris, take it away.
Yeah, I think the question was simply that we spent $58,000 last year. The budget was 52,000. So the first issue there was that we did a transfer into that account. The transfer is posted to the account right above it. So you can see that the total budget after transfers was 58,165. We spent 58,164. In this account, it's two part-time employees that work fluctuating hours based on the demands of the office. In looking at the year-to-date numbers through the first 2 months of 2025, we've spent just shy of about $8,800. Multiply that by 6, I get just about 53,000. Add the additional 1% increase, and I'm right at that 53.5 number. So it's where we're trending. I know it's still early in the year. But it's a department that the hours fluctuate.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, so now we're where the tire hits the road, rubber hits the road. So so what we're gonna do, Chief, you're not, is there a problem, Chief?
No, I just, you started off with, the fire chief gave a summation. I was wondering if you're gonna offer that opportunity to any other department heads that like to do that.
No, I wasn't, Chief. We've heard from any, unless the council wishes, does council wish to reopen to all departments for summations?
Well, I think, Chief, what happened with fire department chief was we had not been able to finish with him. So it was just concluding. the conversation with him. That's
It sounded like the summation, but
Okay, yeah, no, at the end of the last meeting, chief, I had said that we would start with the fire chief because he walked certain items in and the council would have time to consider those items he had walked in for questions. Budget, Citizen Budget Committee, this is your last opportunity. So I'm gonna open to each of you. Is there anything you wish to recommend to the council by way of cuts? Certainly, if you want to raise your hand during the debate, you are welcome to do that, Citizen Budget Committee, but this is your opportunity to state a position or an idea or a concept or recommendation to the council before we begin to look at that. So we'll start with, as always, Donna. Donna, is there anything, any last kind of like statement you'd like to make?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, Greg.
I just think we have to be mindful of true needs versus wants. And we got to do everything we can to get this budget down to close to where we were last year. And maybe everybody's going to have to suffer a little bit as far as departments go. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Ken?
I second that for Greg, but I do have something for regarding the police for you guys and Chief Walker. So I happened to be driving around, saw that we have a lot of cars, proceeded to get the information thanks to Ann for an inventory, or Lisette, I can't remember which one. We have a pretty big inventory of cars, and I understand the thing as far as, some are coming due, some are old, Jason's trying to fix what he can, the bag of bones that we have in some of the cars. So my only question was, and I guess I'll throw it more to the chief. When we talked about bringing aboard 3 of those, I'll call them utility cars, and I apologize for what the real name is, to do the traffic stuff. My question was, somebody had mentioned, I believe, that we were bound to use the money that we are obtaining through the PSE&G program stuff, that it was bound to be used only for vehicles or items that are traffic related. And at which point, I don't understand who set those rules. And I don't understand why we're not looking at, let's be honest, based on that inventory, I see a Yukon in your future. And with the fact that a Yukon, a full patrol Yukon, takes about what seems to be almost 2 years to get, I don't understand why we're bound to only utilizing that money for just, I'll say, utility vehicles. And
Okay, I'm sorry.
no, so I'd like to, if again, somebody can explain why we're bound to that. The other thing is, why can't we use some of that money towards the camera system in an effort, again, talking about controlling traffic? And I know it's a little bit more about detective work of when something happens using those cameras, but it really is also about traffic. Why can't we use some of that money to pay for some of those cameras that the chief has requested? And again, I think chief's requests are valid. I just think we can maybe utilize the funds differently to maybe pay for this stuff and not have it come directly out of taxes.
So that would be a question for Chris. I originally thought it was a question for the chief, but you're really asking a question. What can we take from correct me if I'm wrong, what can we take from the trust fund? And can it be a Yukon? Can it be license plate readers? Can it be cameras? So you're asking Chris to explain that whether there's an option taken from the trust fund, and if so, why or why not?
Correct.
Chris?
Happy to. Trust accounts. So let's just quickly go into what happens with the trust accounts. We have a lot of different trust accounts. We talked about open space before. We talked about our parks field maintenance earlier as well. The idea behind a trust account is that the funds that go into the trust account can be utilized for the intent of the creation of the trust account. And those are actually guided by statute. So for example, with open space, Lizette had mentioned it before, it can only be used for recreation, preservation of land, debt service on those projects. We wouldn't be able to buy a vehicle from that account. The police outside duty account is a little bit more flexible because part of the fees that are associated with the traffic control, a bulk of them go to the officers to pay for their time, but there's also an administrative and a vehicle portion of that, right? So we have to pay somebody to bill out all that time, right? And that is something that we can use those funds for. And it's also to support the program. So when you have a vehicle idling there for X number of hours, you're putting a lot of wear and tear on it. And you can use it for the gas, you can use it for the cones, et cetera, et cetera. The interesting part about the police outside duty account is that if you take a look at our budget, one of the line items of revenue is police outside duty. This year we're anticipating $95,000 in the budget as revenue, which actually offsets the tax impact, and we utilize that. It doesn't directly go towards anything specifically, but we do have lines for vehicle maintenance. We do have lines for paying somebody to send those bills out to the vendors, and it does help to offset that. So the short answer is if the item that we're looking to purchase is not a outside duty related item, then we wouldn't be able to charge the trust account directly because that's not the intent of the trust account. However, we can take more revenue into our budget and add an appropriation to our budget to utilize those funds in one of the ways that you described, if that was the choice to do that. What my opinion throughout the process has been, as long as we're not offsetting the tax rate by revenue that we don't think we can continuously replenish, then we should be okay. So if it's a vehicle here, or the cameras, or something else of that nature that is not going to be replaced annually, right? It's every 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case may be, then you'll just need a new form of appropriation 5 or 10 years from now when you go to replace that equipment. You probably will not have the outside duty trust account, at least not for this particular PSE&G project at that time. So there is a way to do it. You just have to run through a couple of extra hoops, and you have to do it, plan it in advance. Whereas now for like these track vehicles, I think they're called, and I don't even know if that's the name of them, but they're the smaller vehicles that we're using for the traffic control. That can be charged directly to the trust account just by order of adopting a resolution authorizing the purchase. Whereas if we're going to utilize it for something unrelated, we're going to have to take that money in as revenue in the budget. So now is the time to make that decision and then appropriate it on the other side for what we want to spend it on. And that was the long version of, we can figure out a way to make it happen at the expense of depleting the reserve.
So my thought behind this, right, is we need to look at that hard, because my buddy Chief Walker will be coming next year to us for a Yukon, guaranteed, based on his inventory. And I think that we have this, listen, this isn't, I hate to use the word cash cow, right? This PSE&G I know will go 1-2 more years, I think the chief said at the last presentation. But I think it's a way to get, again, with the fact that Yukons aren't coming tomorrow, if we could buy a truck and it was tomorrow, I would tell you, let's hold off. But if there's a way to pick up a utility vehicle or traffic vehicle, as Chris said, whatever it's called, and a Yukon, I think we should try to use the funds appropriately and get ahead of the game on the inventory, because there's a bunch coming off. I mean, I think I won't speak for Jason and the chief, but Certainly looked like it to me on the piece of paper I got.
All right, Ken, any other question or comment?
No, sir, thank you.
All right. Al?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and council for the hard work that they've been putting in on this project, moving a budget from a 6% increase down to something that's more agreeable, I guess, to everybody, and maybe even statutorily required. It's a big job. I would just hope that in your thought process that you probably consider the things that are absolutely necessary to have, things that are going to protect the town from whatever comes up first, and then look to some of the, I'll use this in my language, niceties that we could have to make life a little bit better for our citizens. We are not in a position at this point with the amount of money to do everything. So how you get there is a big job. And I would just hope that you keep in mind the people that are working for you, the people that are helping the members of this community get to where they are and maintain their safety, their life, and just work on that first and then move to the nicer things. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so, Councilwoman Kinsella is our Budget and Finance Chair. She works with Lizette. The Finance Committee is Councilwoman Kinsella, Councilwoman Malari, and Councilman Glass. But they work with the council. Councilwoman Kinsella, where should we go first?
Mayor, we're gonna go to the capital budget to go through each presentation today.
Okay, and we'll start with the last one, which was administration. Is there, I know that you said parks, but administration was the last one that presented.
Yes, then we're gonna start with, Right.
All right, let's start with rec.
Yeah.
Okay, so so far we have not moved any of the items for rec. Chris, because what we have on our sheets is different from what is currently real, would you please bring up the rec capital? Okay, do you wish to move or not move any of these items?
Yes, Mayor, the only change was that we were gonna push the recreational vehicle from this year to the following year.
Is the council in general agreement? Then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna ask for a motion and second to move KGB field, pickleball courts and batting cage, KGB field, baseball, softball fields and field house and engineering Memorial Park Training Phase 1 for to be part of the budget.
So moved.
Second.
It is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, I would now like a motion to remove rec vehicle cart from the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Here is open for debate. Is there debate? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, do you wish to stay with rec when it comes to operating?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, what page do you wish us to go to, if any?
I'm sorry.
I have pages for rec, I think it's 107.
It's at 105.
Yes, but I don't think there was anything on 105. Was there something on 105? Yes, there was other general group. That was an increase.
Yes.
But there was no testimony or questions from the council at the time for making a change. I believe the first time the council or there was testimony for change was page 107.
Correct. Due to the fact that, the mayor started with hiring freeze, I do believe that at this moment, I move to not approve the full-time position.
Okay, Lizette, what would that mean as way of a motion? If the council chooses to do it?
It would be removing whatever amount Chris had put in the budget, because it's currently in the budget.
Chris, what would it take to remove the promotion from the budget, from items 011 and 012?
I'm looking for the difference right now. The amount that's in there for the full-time employee is $50,000. But if it's not moved to full-time, we would have to keep a certain amount in there as a part-timer. I'm just looking to pull up that number to see how much, what it's trending towards. And, you know, and then perhaps Lizette and Joe can jump in and say, hey, if they're not full-time, this is how many hours we would need them to work at a minimum, so that I can do a quick calculation based on the hourly rate and figure out what that would need to be.
Okay, before we do this, is there an inclination without voting for the council to make this action? It appears there is, so let's continue. Lizette, comment.
Yes, this employee, when he was hired last year, was at $40,000. I don't know what the increase that was received in January brings it up to, but this employee works the maximum allowed for a part-timer of 29 hours, so our director has been very cognizant of that, and if that 29 hours for that week is approaching, then he adjusts that employee's hours accordingly to not go over that. So this employee is working the maximum allowed of part-time hours.
All right, Joe, Chris, what are we talking about? And Chris, you also have to think about reducing the additional amount that was put into health benefits, if any, but let's first deal with the salary. Joe, he's working 29 hours. Do you envision him continuing to work 29 hours?
Yes.
Okay. Chris, based on 29 hours and his last hourly rate, what would we be increasing the part-time to? And what would be, and I guess we would reducing the full-time by 50,000?
No.
Yes, we would reduce the full-time by 50,000. We'd have to increase the part-time. Right now, he's trending to be paid about $32,000, but I'm not sure if that increases in the summer with extra activities. But we're probably right back in that same ballpark of leaving it at 40,000 for the flexibility for more or less time during certain busy seasons.
Okay, Chris, would it be correct then that we're gonna change, if the council chooses to do this, part-time line 102 to 52,360 and reduce the full-time line to, let me see, that'd be 84,000? Would it be 84,000? Yes, 84,872.
Uh, 52,360 and 84,872. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then of course you'd be removing whatever was put into the health benefits and pension line?
Correct. Nothing's in pension because the pension's lagged 2 years, but health benefits, I would look to reduce it. It would be minimal because it would have only been for 3 months.
Because Joe had recommended with the hire to make it effective July 1st, and as a new hire, there's a 60-day waiting period.
Okay, so I put it to the council. Is there a motion to reduce line 5-01-28-370-001 from 134,000 $84,872 to $84,872, and simultaneously increasing part-time line 5-01-28-370-021 from 12,360 to 52,360.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We are open for debate. Is there debate?
So it's a net decrease in direct salary of about 10,000.
Yes. But there'd be some health benefits this year and next year that would,
I was just saying direct salary, okay.
yeah. But I just, because somebody was thinking. All right then, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? It is so moved. Okay. There,
Page 108.
yep,
Joe's recommendation to approve the recommendation from line 370,041 from 2,000 to 1,000.
it's been moved, well, you moved
Oh,
it.
I said second,
Second.
sorry.
It's been moved and seconded, is open for debate, reducing line 041 from 2,000 to 1,000. Is there debate? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay,
Page 109, I moved to the recommendation of the maintenance contract to remove 15,800 to make it 27,400.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to reduce line 177 to 27,400, correct?
Correct.
Is there debate? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We already did what was on page 111, but I don't think that fits budget anymore, right?
No, that's.
That's
That was
DPW.
DPW.
Okay. Um. Okay. I believe that takes care of rec. Where do you want to move next?
Can we go to Rivas?
Rivas, okay, so we're going to the capital budget, volunteer ambulance squad. Where its request is 25,000 for 4 portable, 2 console.
I make a motion to approve that request. Someone second.
It's been moved seconds, open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, where do you wish to move now?
We can go to administration.
Great. So the administration line has 2 items on it. Madam Chair,
I move to approve that.
both lines?
So moved. Yes.
Okay. It's been moved and second to move computers and IT equipment, request of 13,500 and update tax maps, request for 100,000. It is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, we have one more under administration, which is legal finance, right?
No, that has to be included in a bond ordinance because of the bond council and whatever financing Chris has to implement.
Yes, but to keep it in the budget. Who's putting that forth?
Chris, because that's required under bond law.
Yeah, it sounds like administrative things.
Yeah.
All right, what? You want to move that?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's open for debate. Is there debate to put 10,000 in the budget for legal and financing? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, that's it for administration.
Everything else is covered.
Okay,
Last week.
where do you want to move next?
And we can now move to library.
Library, okay.
The finance committee recommends appropriating $657,539.08 to cover the other general expense of $138,610 and $518,929.08 for total salary and wages. The maintenance line stays the same at 5850 since that is reserved for any repairs to the building.
So the overall budget would now be?
Chris, can you put that number in there so the public knows that we've captured the third of a mil?
And how much we gonna be on?
And yes,
It's gonna be about 8.7.
Are you able to see the screen? I'm not sure how big it would be on your
Not
screen.
very big, Chris. Try maximizing it and then zooming in. Number that I'm concerned about is the grand total or what we're giving. The grand total looks like $892,483.08, which is $71,249.98 more than the third of a mil. All right. All right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Can I ask a question though?
Absolutely.
Just a
Well, no, and actually not until it's moved.
Okay,
Well, we've been allowing it. Go ahead.
okay.
Robert's rules say you have to move it to enter to debate or questions, but we've not been following that exactly, so.
Check if there's any people in the public that needs to.
There was a
Has asked a question?
question.
Oh, no, we're not open to the
Okay,
public.
good. Okay.
No, we're only open to the Citizen Budget Committee if they have a question.
Got it.
So I just want to make sure, so they're requesting about 950 and now we're saying we're gonna give them 890, roughly, do I have that right?
892 and a half,
So about minus about $60,000,
then the request.
and the request. Okay, just want to make sure.
And 71 and a quarter over what's required by the state.
Got it.
Wasn't no.
Is there a concern? Do you want to mention that?
No.
Okay, are we good?
But just one clarifying comment, though. This exceeds the state required minimum, still.
By
Right?
71 and a quarter,
71,000. It just needs to be said.
yes. All right, okay, has it been moved and seconded?
I believe I moved it, Mayor.
Second.
Okay, all in, it's open for debate. Is there debate? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, Chris, you can take that down. Where do we go now?
I believe we are done with
Today's?
the new business of today.
Should we then be going to where do we go next? The fire department? Because they were the last to present?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Mayor, I move to approve the addition of the $3,000 to the fire department's budget for a maintenance contract to service their tools.
okay, this is a new line item, right?
Yeah.
So we're creating a new line item. Chris, you with us on this? You can just give me a thumbs up if you don't want to, Mike. Good.
Mayor, can I just revise my?
Yes, you can.
I
No one seconded, so
Yes.
you can just withdraw it and make a new one.
misspoke. So of the 3 requests made by the fire department, I move to approve the addition of the $3,000 to the fire department's budget for a maintenance contract to service their tools.
Okay, so we're not moving the other 2 walked-in requests.
Correct.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it is open for debate, inquiry. Is there debate? Is there inquiry? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Where do we go next?
The last old business I have is the police department.
Okay.
I move to remove the 12,000 from the police department's salary and wage line to eliminate the additional sergeant position. As the mayor stated earlier last week, that we're the hiring freeze and promotion freeze.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it is open for debate, commentary, questions. Is there debate, commentary, question? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? All right, anything else?
Last, on my list is that I move to remove the 170 from the police department's capital request for license plate readers and cameras and ask the chief to, and the finance committee recommends that Chief Walker submit a request in next year's capital budget, but as separate line items.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It is open for debate. Is there debate, inquiry? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Hearing none. Okay, well, we still are very high. Chris, what is our current, you are muted, by the way.
Yeah, I'm used to doing this singularly. I'm trying to catch up on all the numbers right now, so I'm.
Do you need 5 minutes, Chris? Do you need for us to give you 5?
That would be excellent.
All right, we're just gonna do a pause, not a real adjournment. We're just gonna pause for 5 minutes. Let's mute the mics, and Chris, you'll let us know when you're ready again.
1,055,187.04. That's that second line on that tax impact sheet for year-over-year change. We have a total net reduction of 103,598, which brings us down to 5.89%, or about $218 on the average house.
Chris, I want to ask you a question. How much would we have to reduce? How many in dollars would we have to reduce to get to either 4.5 or 4?
To get to 4.5, from here, we would have to reduce another $224,000.
Wait just a second.
To get to 4, we would have to reduce another $305,000.
All right.
Yeah, so, this is now 5.8.
So 5.8 from 6.4.
If we want to get to
6.6 or 6.
So it was
And we need to get
204 to get to
220, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, 224 to reduce to 4.5, which is what we did last year. To reduce to 4, we'd have to reduce it to 305. 305,000. So now we're in a very difficult position. We're now looking at layoffs, or we're looking at a transfer. So, because
And the dollar amount impact on the average home is also shrinking year over year because of the higher budget. So at 4.5% last year, you were at $207 on the average house. And at 5.9% this year, you're at $218. So it's an $11 difference for the impact on the average house, even though the percentage is much higher.
all right, so give that to us again. What is the impact on the average house at our current 5.895?
$218.31.
Okay, and remember, this is the median house, right?
We don't have the data to support that right now. We have what we're expecting the average to be, which would be the mean, I guess, based on the information that our tax assessor has. The full data to be able to actually gather the median isn't available yet. They're still working through it, so it hasn't been published.
Okay, and what would be the impact on 4.5 and 4?
Give me 1 second. For, sorry, 1 more second.
Right.
Yeah, well, as Assistant Budget Committee Member, Greg, what's your question?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question for either the council or Chris. What has a bigger impact on the 5.89%? Is it the operating budgets? Is it the capital? Or is it a combination of both? Is it more capital, less operating? I just curious. Thank you.
All right. Let Chris finish doing what he's doing, and then I'll answer your question, okay?
4% would be $138 on the average house, and 4.5% would be $159 on the average house.
All right, so now we have a lot of information, but before we discuss this as a council, Chris, if you could address Greg's question as Citizen Budget Committee member.
Yeah, the answer is it's 100% operating. The capital is really not going to impact it at all this year. The capital is going to impact future debt service, so it will definitely impact future budgets, but it'll not really be material to this one.
Chris, just with that impacting the future budgets, with the capital that was approved this year, we would start paying for that in 2 years, 3 years down the road?
Well, so you'll start paying for it as soon as we need the cash. So we've been utilizing over the last couple of years, we've been utilizing our fund balance to be able to support the operations we ran out. We had to borrow $9 million last year, right? So we effectively were no longer able to loan ourselves the funds to support the capital projects. So at this point forward, you will likely be borrowing the money as the projects are moved forward. So and the best example that we have today is, this capital budget includes $300,000 for the ladder truck, but we're not actually going to be borrowing that for potentially 5 or 6 years. So it really depends on the status of the projects. If we're authorizing about $3.6 million in debt this year based on this capital budget that we just reviewed, we might need to borrow $500,000 this year, another $1 million next year, as the projects progress. And so it fluctuates quite a bit. But yeah, you'll probably look to be fully funding these at the time the project's complete. Our first fully funded, like our first serial bond that we're probably looking to sell will be in about 2030. So that's when you'll start taking on very large principal and interest payments. But the reason for that is because that is when our existing serial bonds, our existing long-term financing will fully mature. So we'll see a lot of extra space in the budget to be able to accommodate the large debt service payments that come on with the new debt.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Appreciate it.
So Greg, and Chris, correct me, and Lizette, correct me if I'm wrong. What we're trying to do is control the capital budget in anticipation of 2030. So we want to make sure that we're not, having to go out for principal before 2030, because then we would still be paying principal and we'd be getting principal. So we're trying to, balance the whole when we need the money.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good? Okay, Al, you have a question as Citizen Budget Committee member. Go ahead.
A quick question, Chris. The money that we have in our budget to pay debt now, this year, I think it was 400,000. Is that correct?
That's the additional. That's the
that's the
interest
okay.
payment on our short-term notes.
Is that interest or is that principal also?
That is just interest.
That's just interest. And that seems like an awful lot of interest that we paid on debt this year. Can you? I know you talked about this last week, but maybe it's just hitting home now.
It's 4.5% on a $9 million note.
We have a $9 million note out there. Okay, and we're gonna have that again next year.
It'll be more, right? Because we're only paying interest, and we'll be doing more projects. So
okay.
It might not be $400,000. Number one, it's going to be the delta between the amount that we're paying this year and the amount that we're paying next year, because by including the $400,000 this year, you're already building into your budget. So you'll be paying interest on a larger principal amount, but I don't know what the interest rates are going to be yet, right? So if the interest rates are down to 3.5%, the interest might actually be lower on a higher number.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to add 305,000 to the revenue from surplus to reduce the tax impact to 138 on the residents.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
This is open for debate, and I just want us to talk about it a little bit. So what we're talking about doing is reducing the impact on the public from 200 average house. So houses that have a smaller tax burden have a smaller increase. The houses have a bigger tax burden, have a bigger. And so we're saying it's about 138, and that 138 is only our portion of the tax. We are about 26% of the overall
Between
tax.
24 and 26.
Between 24, and so let's say we are 1/4 of the tax increase that the residents are going to experience. So this increase that we're talking about could be, we did nothing, it would be $218 before the schools, both school districts, before the county, before open space. And that would be an increase of 5.895. If we brought it down by 1.895 or approximately 2 points, we'd bring the impact on the homes to $159. And if we bring it down, I'm sorry, I calculated that wrong in my head. That would be 1.3. That would be bringing it down to $59 or 4.5% increase to the taxpayer. If we bring it down to a 4%, then it's $138, which is a reduction of $80 on the average home, okay? So having said that, just for the public's benefit and everyone else's benefit, and our choices were, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, Lizette, our choices were to go back in and begin laying people off, because that's pretty much all that we have left. So what we're doing to do is take this from surplus, and it's not a great practice, but it's where we're at, given that there's 19.8% inflation over the last 4 years, and we've tried to control the impact on the public. But it's either leave it the way it is or take from surplus. Is that correct, Lizette?
That is correct, because the rest of our operating is either contractual or state mandate.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. So it's an ugly budget, but it's the best I think we can do. It's up to the council. Is there debate? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? It is done. Okay, according to my agenda, is there any new business or old business? Is there any council comments? Hearing none. Any comments from the Citizen Budget Committee before we close? Just call out.
Thank you for Mayor for allowing us to be part of this project, and I hope people watching or that are going to watch see this is not an easy task at all.
I'll come back to you. Anybody else from the Citizen Budget Committee? All right.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to thank the mayor and council, the department heads. This is a very difficult project that goes on, and I'm always constantly amazed at how much forethought goes into the project, how much information we've presented to know what we're doing and how we're spending it. I do appreciate all the work that's done by everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ken?
I'll reiterate Greg and Al's statements, and also just make a point to make sure that pie chart we put when we send out the tax bill is highlighted very strongly of each area where that bill comes from. And to be able to see that an average household might only be about 30%, that's based on the town, when it's 67% from the schools. So it's a big number, excuse me, to see. So thank you.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. And Donna, since don't know if you want to say anything, you don't have to. If not, I'm going to move to Councilman Glass. All right, Councilman.
I just want to say, I know what the folks, everyone else has said, I'm super impressed with the effort that went into this by the department heads, the cooperation we got from the department heads. All the time and effort they spend, it's just phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. But I especially want to recognize the effort that the people I worked with on the budget committee put into this. Lizette, Chris, thank you, Claudiana, but especially Indy, Councilwoman Indira. It's incredible the time and effort and all the work she put in, and I, got to witness a lot of the hours and time, and it's a lot of work. And she did it very effectively, super organized, super focused, and I thank her for that. And everyone else on the budget committee. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dave.
Anyone else? All right, you stole my thunder, but I appreciate that it came from you, and I know the council concurs. Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Kinsella for chairing, Councilwoman Malari and Councilman Glass for being a part of this. You guys have literally spent hours upon hours upon hours with Lizette. Thank you, Lizette, and thank you, Chris, for all the many phone calls, the text messages, all the many documents we asked, and to our department heads, we really appreciate it. All that you've done, all that you recommended, both volunteer and paid, we really appreciate it. We wish we could do more. I think that is fair. We did the best we could with 4 years of inflation. I want to thank the council for all their hard work. And I appreciate it. And Council President Lonsam Cohen, Councilwoman Dhariwal, Councilman Benson. No, this hand was still up from last time. I gotta take it down.
Chris has his hand.
Also the.
Chris.
Citizen Budget Committee.
Oh my God, I forgot. And I was gonna get to that. I got distracted. Yes, and very much, Donna, thank you. Greg, thank you. Ken, thank you. Al, thank you. We really, really appreciate it. And Chris, you wanted to say something?
I just, from a procedural perspective, I know that typically we try to get the documents for the next meeting. We're a little bit tight for this next meeting because it has to go to the auditor, it has to go to bond counsel to put everything together. So I just wanted to try to increase the expectation over to that March 27th meeting. It is still within the March 31st introduction date, but I just don't want the expectation that they'll be able to turn around the documents in just a couple of days.
All right. And I also forgot to thank Anne for all that she does in preparation for this. We really appreciate it. Anne and of course Annie too, and the entire non-contractual staff, including Gita and all those who work in the borough offices. And we thank all of our employees, our police, our DPW, and we thank our volunteers, fire, Rivas, who am I leaving out? Recreation. And so thank you, and we appreciate it. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.